Hello, and welcome back. Technically it's welcome back. It is welcome back, but hey, what's another rebrand, right? Yeah. You might notice, if you've been here for a while, that things seem a little different. At least when it comes to like the title, the name of the podcast, which is nothing new. I've had a hard time for years deciding exactly what to call it, and I've gone back and forth on a few different things, and I don't know, man. I don't know. Just trying to. That's not me farting, by the way. If you can hear that, that's the chair. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, this is now and forever will be the Legacy Club podcast. It's no longer Skeleton Crew Fight Club, which was a cool name, which was a rad name. I liked it a lot. But I've decided to retire Skeleton Crew in general because I don't know, man. I just kind of got to a point where it wasn't, I didn't feel like it was me anymore. I didn't like it anymore. I mean, I liked it, but I just didn't feel like, I felt like I was trying to hold on to something that just kind of like wanted to die. You know what I mean? I kept like hitting it with the defibrillators and, keeping it on life support when all it wanted to do was just pass on. So, yeah, man, I let it go. Every shirt design, every podcast, I just kept going and trying to keep it back kicking. But no, it was done. And it was just too much to keep up with and try to like explain how it was all the same thing but called different things. Like Leal Legacy and Skeleton Crew were one entity, but they had different names, and I don't know, man. I don't know. So we're just running with the Legacy brand. We're just running with Legacy. It's Leal Legacy, and then Legacy Club podcast and Legacy Club clothing. It's just Legacy all around. Hope you like it. If you don't, oh well. I like it. That's what matters. So that's what we're running with. So this is the first episode of Legacy Club, the Legacy Club podcast. But it's definitely not the first episode of this podcast. And I'm done. I'm done being wishy-washy and like, on the rebrand trip. I bought like 4 different website domains and trying to figure out what to replace Skeleton Crew with, utilizing Legacy. And that was a waste of a lot of money. But I finally landed on Legacy Club. And for the clothing, for the store, for the Legacy store, it's Legacy Club Clo. CLO, which is an abbreviation for clothing. So Legacy Club clothing. You'll get used to it. We've retired the skull. The skull is no more. Now it is strictly the fists. That's so when you see the Legacy fists like that over Leal Legacy, that's what it is. It's putting your fists up, ready to fight. But they're cartoon gloves. And I love it. So yeah, it's just, thanks for riding with me. Thanks for, following on the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs and the, constant renaming and constant rebranding and constant just chaos. But I've hit an end point. I hit a focal point. Everything says the same thing. Everything is clearly related to each other. There is no more confusion. It is all cohesive, and it all makes me feel good inside. And me feeling good inside means I can get back to pumping out good content. That's to assume that the content was ever good. I think it was good. Some of you out there think it's pretty good. Now I just got to convince the rest of you that it's good, and everything will be great. Ow. I hurt my hand. I am really feeling old lately, guys. Like, not emotionally or spiritually or mentally. I don't feel old in those ways. But man, oh man, is my body deciding to just suck. And I don't really know if it's necessarily my body that's just sucking or what, but I've had bad knees, but I've always had one really bad knee ever since like my teenage years when I popped it out of place skateboarding. Since then, my right knee has always been an issue in my life, and doing jiu-jitsu and, you know, helping coach kids MMA, it's really been rearing its ugly head. Like, hey, remember me, it's me, your bad knee. Don't forget about me. He likes to rhyme. And then I kind of alleviated that issue. I got a knee brace, which, you know, I don't think is super out of place. It doesn't feel totally out of place. That doesn't necessarily make me feel old. That just makes me feel like I've led an active life. And, you know, when you lead an active life, bumps and bruises and dings and dents are an inevitability, and some of them follow you for the rest of your days. And my bum knee is one of them. It's like a cartilage rip that allows my knee to slide in and out of place or something. I don't know, but it sucks. And then this last week, I had gone to jiu-jitsu after like a few weeks off. Not voluntarily off, but it was just life, man. You know, like for a hot minute, my wife and I were like putting in a new kitchen floor in our house, and that took much longer than my wife expected it to. It took pretty much exactly how long I anticipated it to, but that's neither here nor there. We got it done. It looks great. It was her idea. You know, she knows what's best ultimately. She just has different timing expectations than I think, you know, I do. I'm more of a realist when it comes to that. But anyway, didn't go to jiu-jitsu because we were like super hyper focused on that. I was doing some other home renovating stuff. Then got sick, caught a cold, took Bane to a birthday party at one of those trampoline parks. And let me tell you, dude, those trampoline parks are just a cesspool of disgustingness. And yeah, one of Bane's buddies from his jiu-jitsu, or no, his kickboxing class, invited him to a birthday party. We went. We took the little boys, just because why not? You know, we're taking Bane. Why not take the other boys? Let Bane party. We'll let the little ones tire themselves out. And just being there, it's like Chuck E. Cheese. You know what I mean? You just the sense of contamination is just overwhelmingly everywhere. And at one point, they had this like little arcade area where you could play like claw machines. So we took the little ones over there, and I was, you know, playing the little claw machines with Maverick. And this little boy was bouncing a ball. It rolled over to Mav. He picked it up, and I was like, "No, Mav, like here." And I took the ball away from Mav, and I gave it back to its rightful owner. And the ball's rightful owner was a little boy who had just wet coming out of every hole in his face. And the ball had wet on it. So whatever funk was flowing from that kid's face was on us, and it's just like it was unavoidable, you know what I mean? So we all caught some sort of disease that was lingering there, and that took us all down for a little while. But anyway, I digress. So long story short, it had been a hot minute since I was in my jiu-jitsu class, and like not even 10 minutes, 15 minutes into the class, we were doing some pretty meaningful drills. And by that I mean like physically exerting, physically taxing drills. And at one point I lost my footing and went down. And when I went down, I caught the ground with, I guess, all thumb. And I definitely, I don't know, man. It's a sprain. That's what I'm telling myself. That's not an official medical diagnosis, but from doing my own WebMDing and just relating that to how I feel, and I can still move it. Nothing bruised. It's swole up quite a bit. I got like what my coach called like an extra knuckle now, which I don't know how good that is, but yeah, it definitely sucks. Feels a lot better wearing this thing, but when I'm not wearing this thing and I hit it in a certain way, it feels like my thumb is going to pop out of place. So that sucks. All that to say, I kind of feel like my body's falling apart right now. But it's mainly just this injury and coming off that cold too. I don't know. It's just a lot. It's just a lot, man. It's just quite a bit of physically taxing things happening in life. But this too shall pass. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to stop doing jiu-jitsu. So maybe this won't pass. Maybe. And honestly, when I think about it, the fact that I made it this far into jiu-jitsu, well, I did hurt my foot that one time, and I had to wrap that up for a while. I sprained my foot. So my bad knee being re-aggravated, and then spraining my foot, and now spraining my thumb in the span of like a little over a year. 2 new injuries and the resurface of an old injury. That's not horrible, right? In 12 months. We'll say 2.5 injuries in 12 or like 13 months, 14 months, 15 months. February, March, April, May. Yeah, 15 months. That's not bad. That's not bad. I'm glad I talked that out. I'm glad I talked myself through that. I feel about the same. A little bit better. I gotta get back in the flow of this. It's tricky. It's exercising a muscle, and I'm having to remind myself of that this takes practice to just talk to yourself like a crazy person. Normally I keep it darker in here, but I figured that in editing it's so much easier to make things darker than it is to make things lighter, so I just kept it light up front, which I'm kind of regretting at this point. I really kind of wish this was darker. I feel like I do better in the dark, because crazy people talk to themselves in the dark. If you're a crazy person who talks to yourself in a well-lit room, that's a whole different level of crazy, really. That's highly, highly uncomfortable. A highly uncomfortable degree of crazy. It says here that my battery on my continuity camera is at 10%. But it's also charging. So I don't know necessarily how that works. But I don't know. Is it just not reading that it's charging? Should I do one of these? Did that help anything? I don't know. I don't want to fidget with it now. That's just annoying. Oh, you know what? Because it wasn't really plugged in. Hold on. Does that look cool? Well, you showed me you were charging a second ago. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Crisis averted. Crisis averted, except for this charger. And now that I'm looking at the base of the charger, I can tell that my kid has been chewing on it. That's a rough reality for parents. Parents out there, how often do your kids destroy your things? Because my children destroy my things constantly. Chargers, remote controls, Maverick has broken a TV. It's just chaos. It's chaos. And is it because it's a house full of boys? Those of you with, little girls, do you have the same issues? I'm sure you guys have different issues. I don't know, man. It's I can't wait for them to grow up. But at the same time, I like them, being small and sweet. But the older they get, and looking at our older two boys, they just go to their rooms. They go to their rooms, they play their video games, they sequester themselves into their individual caves. And then the younger two just run amok, destroying everything. Playing in the fireplace, trying to fill whatever they can with water to play with. It's nuts, man. It's nuts. What was I saying before I had to figure out the whole camera thing? Oh yeah, this is a muscle. This is a muscle that you got to work out. Maybe if I had a co-host, it'd be easier because then I could talk to somebody and banter with. Because then you're only pulling 50% of the weight. If there's another person on your podcast also talking, then it's half the job I'm doing. I'm doing 100% of the talking to no one. I personally think that's a next level sort of skill that not a lot of people can do. Can you hear that? That's still the chair. That's still not me farting. Again, it's my story. I'm sticking to it. But yeah. So I figure this will get easier the more I do it. And I'm feeling more motivated as of late. Once I got this whole cohesion across everything solidified, I definitely feel more motivated to put content out because I know it's all one thing. Before, it was being pulled in different directions. Not really, but mentally maybe. Emotionally, psychologically being pulled in different directions. Because I had to keep this Skeleton Crue thing going. But then Leal Legacy was the YouTube and all the video stuff and the pod. But then trying to mix it together and being no, it's all the same thing. But yeah, it was trying to promote two different things that I wanted to be one thing. So I just figured, why not just make it all one thing? And since doing that, it feels better. And then I have this thing where I've had to redo my web store. I didn't have to, but my brain told me I had to. And I have to listen to my brain. So there was a point where the web store on leallegacy.com just vanished. It just disappeared. And that's when I made Skeleton Crue Fight Club, because I had to make a whole new separate site to be an independent standing web store. Built that, filled it, got some prototype ware to do photos and stuff with. And then I show my wife, like, hey, look what I designed. Look what I got printed. And she's like, oh, that's really cool. I like that a lot. Except I would get rid of this, or I would change this. And I know she just means it in a way of like, just providing input, being helpful, just offering her opinion. But I take like her opinion to heart, and I'm like, well, if she doesn't like it like this, then nobody's gonna like it like this. Now I got to redo everything, and I got to fix it. So I've done that a couple times, where I'll get stuff, I'll show her, she'll be like, yeah, I like, but I don't. This part's kind of and the part that's kind of to her happens to be a part that's like a piece of every article of clothing that I have in the web store. It's not like the design itself, but it's like I was putting a Skeleton Crue skull on like as like an outside label kind of tag on the shirts, and she didn't like that, so I got rid of that. I was putting Skeleton Crue underneath the design, and she's like, I don't really like that. So then I took that off. It was just crazy. And then, now see, look, this still says Skeleton Crue. So this shirt, this design that I'm wearing now, is available in our Legacy store, but the Skeleton Crue part is no longer Skeleton Crue. It's LXC for Legacy Club. The X is just because I'm hardcore. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. But that actually is here and there, because that's part of what I've been spending so much time updating and redoing and redesigning, and just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe there's something psychologically to that. But I fixed it. Whatever brainworm I had either died or I exhausted it to a point where I'm content with what I'm doing now. And even if somebody says like, I don't like it, I like Skeleton Crue better. Well, tough. I don't care. This is what I like better. So this is how it's going to be. Where was that rant taking us? I don't even know. Probably somewhere good. It's probably going to be good. What? No, really though. What was it? Yeah, anyway, you can go to legallegacy.com still, and then click on the Legacy store icon, and that'll take you to the web store. And yeah, still all the same designs, more or less, that I've been working on and have had up there, but the skull is gone. We just have the Legacy fists now as the main logo for everything. Cohesion. Yeah. I'm stoked on it. Hopefully you are too. I'd imagine you would be. I mean, if you've stuck around this long and have gone through the motions with me, like, maybe you'll be stoked on this too. Maybe. I don't know. I am, though, and I'm going to have a lot more fun doing everything now. Because it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. When you feel out of whack, even in just like the smallest way, it has this ripple effect or a snowball effect. Which is what, ripple effect or snowball effect? Which is more, which is the greater effect? I guess the snowball effect, because the ripple just ripples out. Do the ripples ever change size? Does the ripple ever become a tidal wave? Because the snowball effect, the snowball just keeps collecting until it becomes a snow boulder. I think the snowball effect is way more intimidating than the ripple effect. But anyway, yeah, so when something feels out of whack, it can snowball on itself and get to it could be a really intense roadblock to have to get over. But here we are, we're over it. My wife and I are going to be doing more stuff together, podcasty stuff, vloggy stuff, and Baney Boy is doing some stuff now. He was. I opened the floodgate, and I do literally mean floodgate, to allow, like, I started allowing him stream his video game playing on the Leal Legacy YouTube, which was good and bad. It's good because he's really into it. He has a lot of fun doing it. He cannot stop pumping out content. Like, he just loves making videos. Well, when I'm trying to post other videos on the same channel, things get a little convoluted and kind of stacked on top of each other, and, you know, things may fall to the wayside or get, you know, just a lot of clutter. So we have launched a specific YouTube channel for Bane and his gaming. It's called Leal Legacy Gaming on YouTube. Feel free to go scope that out, give it a follow, subscribe, and watch Baney Boy play, you know, whatever video games he's playing, and listen to him talk. Like, he is, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree with that guy. Like, he is just as an aggressive talker as I am. So one day we'll be able to do this together as well, and that'll be fun. We'll just talk over each other for an hour straight. Yeah. I'm tired, man. I'm tired in a way that's just like, it's not like as I yawn, a physical tired, although I guess it is. It's just like I don't know, man. I don't know. It's part of the getting old too, maybe, possibly. I just feel like I've been, you know what it is? I feel like I've been treading a lot of water. I think that's what it comes down to. I feel like I've been treading a lot of water, sitting stagnant, like doing stuff, doing a lot of things, doing things, but not like making any progress in any sort of direction. And you know what? That's a really good way to describe this, because with the whole, like, trying to, you know, retiring Skeleton Crew and building like cohesion to every, it's just, I never stopped making stuff. I just was like, I was making the same things over and over and over again. And it was like treading water. I was in one place. My time was being utilized productively in a sense of creating, but it was inefficient because it wasn't like going anywhere. I like that. I like that a lot, that analogy, because yeah, it's so true. I kept like I just talked about. I kept redoing the same designs over and over again because I was fixing this or fixing that, or then like getting rid of Skeleton Crew, and I just had to go back and redo everything and replace the skull with the fists, or where it said Skeleton Crew, I had to put Legacy, and it was a lot of doing the same thing over and over. So a lot of hard work, but it was the same hard work over and over again. And if you're just doing the same hard work over and over again, you're not going to go anywhere. Like, progression, it's just stagnant. It's stagnation. And I think getting over that hump, I'm finally like, oh man, that was a lot. That was a lot to do. Because I feel like I accomplished something. But now, after accomplishing that, I actually have to do more. I have to get caught up. I have to get caught up with all the time I spend treading water. Now I got to start swimming as hard as I can to get to where, you know, I could have been if I wasn't just sitting there treading. You know what I mean? Which, in my brain, it feels easier than just treading the water, because I've had no shortage of like design ideas, and I have like a whole list of things, like I have a folder full of commentary, like cartoon commentaries, vlogging stuff. Like I have so much at my fingertips to create and put out, and now it's not sitting on it anymore, because I was sitting on it while I was treading water, working on the same things over and over again. So now that that's behind me, I can just I can get these new designs out and put in the web store. I have a backlog of different designs that I've been waiting to finalize and put up in the store. This is one of the newer ones. This one's called Sunset Earth. It's an Epcot tribute. Isn't that cool? It's like an 80s summer meets Epcot vibe. I like it. Yeah, stuff like that. It's just, I'm hyped. Is it a boring episode, me just talking about all of that? Because, I mean, if this is your first time listening to this podcast, you're like, what is he talking about? Because you weren't here for all the rest. You haven't been here seeing the frantic and spastic, just redoing everything constantly over and over and over again. So welcome. Welcome to the new dawn. It's not going to be that way anymore. You missed all the fun. So hopefully what comes next is just as entertaining, or more entertaining. I think more. I'm having a sinusy thing. When we get colds, specifically Bane and I, when we get colds, they linger longer than they should. And it's not necessarily the cold itself lingers, but once our sinuses get jacked up, our sinuses stay jacked up for a minute. And it's like been weird weatherish out here in Nashville lately, where it's gone from like cool to warm, back to cool to hot, back to cool. And it's just been, I feel like it's been a higher like pollen count too this year comparatively to like other years. Because, man, he and I have had some issues with our sinuses. And talking for prolonged periods of time aggravates it so I don't know. I'm just feeling it. I'm feeling it. So if you hear me doing like weird things like that, that's what's going on. That's what's happening. This looks like a carpal tunnel brace. Like, I feel so lame wearing this. But at the same time, I feel so cool because I got it doing murder yoga, But it's like, you would never know. You would just look at this. You would see me walking by wearing this wrist brace thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, he sits at his desk on his computer all day. Which, kinda, but that's not why it hurts. It hurts because I fell stupidly. Like, I don't even know how I fell. It was just 1 minute I was standing, the next minute I was catching myself and feeling like this. It truly felt like I dislocated my thumb. But when I was able to like move it still and stuff, I was like, well, if it was out of its socket, I wouldn't be able to be doing what I'm doing here. But holy balls, does it hurt. And then the drill we were doing like a passing drill. So I had to like control my partner's legs. And every time I touched his leg, it was like, aye. And yeah, it's whatever. It didn't stop me from going to help coach the kids class though. And I was hitting the bags at the kids class with this, which is probably a bad idea. My knuckles were kind of swollen. I don't know, man. I don't know. What was I going to say? I want to talk I got to find a way to talk more MMA stuff on this podcast. It's so difficult though, because I kind of if you've listened to the other episodes, I like to keep podcasts pretty evergreen, wherein I don't necessarily talk about much that's happening in the moment, because if you listen to it 6 months later, I want it to feel like, oh, okay, everything he's saying is still, I can't really tell when this was recorded by what he's saying. But at the same time, it's kind of but I don't know, I have a lot to say about things that are going on right now. And something that is going on right now, and it has nothing to do with MMA. Maybe I'll get back to MMA stuff in a minute, but I want to say, so it's a unique fandom that I have, and I guess for those of you who consistently listen, I presume you share some of the fandoms that I do. And it's a unique mix, it's I love martial arts, I love Disney, and you don't necessarily always find the Disney adult, which the more and more I hear people use the term Disney adult in a derogatory way, I just want to be I could hurt you. What are you saying? Disney adults have problems. And it's no, man, I just like fun things, and I find that fun. Why am I defending myself to you? You're the person that's had all the fun sucked out of your soul. Anyway, hey, yeah, so we're coming up on the debut, the reopening, the grand opening, the grand reopening of what was once Splash Mountain, but is now Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And you could go back in the archive and find where I spoke very adamantly against the idea of redesigning Splash Mountain. And I'm still just kind of did it? I don't know, man. I liked Splash Mountain. I was more angry about the absurd accusation that Splash Mountain was somehow racist, and that's why it had to be redesigned, and that just rhetoric that everybody just kept running their mouth about, because it's just man, I consider myself a person of I think I'm smarter than most people. I feel like I'm smarter than most people. I don't necessarily I don't just think that I am. I truly feel that I am. And I feel that way because I take the time to look into things. I take the time to learn about things. I want to discover things. I want to collect. I'm all the information I can. I'm like the leader, Brainiac or something. I just want to suck in all the knowledge I can from every different standpoint there is. And I, unlike most, I feel, have taken the time to watch Song of the South and really take in exactly what's going on in that film, and then look into the history of it. And yeah, the history of the time period the film takes place in was an era where slavery was prominent in the United States. Now, that's just history. That's just an acknowledgement of a period of time. You know what I mean? That doesn't inherently make the content itself racist, because it acknowledges what reality was in that era. It's not a glorification of slavery. It's not even at the forefront necessarily of any of the story. And when it comes down to it, the film was from 1946, I want to say, and even in the 40s, there were segregation issues, and there was rampant racism in that time as well. And to put out a movie where the main character and hero of the story is an African American, to me, seems pretty groundbreaking. Like, that's a huge statement to make in a time steeped in racial inequality. It's like, okay, we're going to take a person who in this social landscape you wouldn't expect to be the wisest character, the kindest character, the hero of this whole story. So I hold a very different opinion of Song of the South, and I think it's actually an anti-racist movie. But for folks out there who don't take the time or the care to look into things as much as I do, they're going to hear that and go, no, it's a racist movie because of slavery. And it's just like, but you're just parroting and regurgitating what you've heard other people say. You haven't taken the time to look into it yourself. You haven't watched the movie. You haven't held any sort of like, there's no critical thinking behind you at all. And that bugs me. So anyway, I was very bothered. I was very bothered that everyone was like, yeah, it's about time. Song of the South is racist. Splash Mountain's due for a rebrand and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, okay, not really. I really like Zippity Doodah, and I'm really bummed out that song is probably going to be gone. I mean, who doesn't like that song? That's one of the quintessential Disney songs. Zippity Doodah, Zippity Yay. My, oh my, what a wonderful. And just, I don't know, Splash Mountain has always been there for me. Like going to Disneyland, even when I started going to Magic Kingdom with my wife, Splash Mountain was a staple in the way that it used to be. Okay, so I was very outspoken about how I thought it was really dumb to redesign it into a Princess and the Frog ride. And just saying that, people would be like, oh, that's just because you're racist. You don't think a black princess should have any sort of representation in the park. It's like, no, dude. I just think make something else. Like, I've seen I've seen that movie. There's nothing in the movie that was like a Splash Mountain type scenario. And, you could argue that Song of the South didn't have any sort of Splash Mountain theming either, but whatever. That's what the ride originally was. That's what they did. Leave it alone. Okay? And it's whatever. And then, like, things like how it was Tiana's Bayou adventure, and they put her in some, like, safari-looking outfit. And I was just like, this is just getting dumber to me. I really don't like this. And I liked Princess and the Frog well enough. It was fine. But it wasn't like, one of my favorite Disney movies. It wasn't. But my son Maverick, it happened to be one of his favorite Disney movies, and we have seen it 27,000 times. And in my 26th thousandth time of seeing Princess and the Frog, I was like, all right, I kind of love this movie. And I do. I really do. I really love Princess and the Frog now. It is probably one of my favorite Disney movies after seeing it so many times. But I was always saying, just if you want to be true to the film, just give Tiana a restaurant in the park, because the whole concept of the whole movie was her goal in opening her own restaurant. And it really just seemed appropriate to me to stick to the theme of the film and give her her own restaurant in the parks. She didn't need a ride. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And it still doesn't necessarily make like the most sense to me, but I am now far more excited about the ride than I once was. I don't feel it is a bummer losing some of the iconic old Splash Mountain things, such as Zippity Doodah and some of the other songs. But the closer we get to the opening of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, it's still a critter ride, because they've released, they've released a lot of like the imagery. They've shown how like some of the animatronics work. The way I need some water. Hold on. Oh, from a Disney Starbucks cup. Look at that. Which, anyway, interesting. I was trying to do like a Tower of Terror design, and I came up with a few that looked very much like this, but not so much like the building itself. And I think I'm going to revisit some of those concepts anyway, neither here nor there. What was I saying? Oh yeah. They're doing a really good job with the update. The structure that was once Splash Mountain, it was very brown. It was a lot of dirt. And now it's a lot of greenery. They took it from being a dry looking space to now a very lush looking space. And I find that aesthetically it's more pleasing. It definitely is. There's no denying that. The animatronics that they've shown are far above and beyond what the animatronics were for like Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox and all them. But like I said, it is still a critter ride, so it still has the same vibe in that sense. So that isn't necessarily going to be a huge departure from what the ride once was. I still think, I don't know, man. The choice of putting Tiana in like an adventurer's outfit instead of like anything she wore in the movie, I've rationalized myself into being okay with that too. It's like she's going back to the swamp after her story has been told, and she's not going to return to the swamp to visit her critter friends in like that any dress or anything like that. She's going to wear something suitable to go venturing into the Louisiana swamps. So anyway, what I'm trying to get at is I somewhat retract my previous statements of, how lame this is going to be, because the closer we get, the more stoked I am. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. I'm curious to hear what the music is. If they throw a curveball and they keep Zippity Doodah in there, like a tribute to what once was, then, that'll be an epic win. I don't know. I don't think they're going to do that because Zippity Doodah is very much a song from the movie Song of the South, but I don't know, man. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I just wanted to clear that up because I felt like it needed to be done. I don't want to be, talking. I don't want to be super hyped on the opening of Tiana's Bayou adventure, and then people go like, "Hey, remember how much smack you were talking about it before?" Yeah, I acknowledge my smack talk from before, and I am repositioning myself in a place of excitement, and I provided the rationale. Okay, so this isn't bandwagon jumping. Like I've put some thoughts and care into this, and my wife and I have talked it over and debated back and forth, and yeah, my transition from disappointment to excitement has not come willy-nilly. Marry the right person, by the way. I definitely did. Because there aren't many people who are as diehard Disney fan as I am out there, and if they are, I don't know. I haven't come across them aside from my own relatives and stuff like that. But I couldn't imagine being married to somebody who didn't share this affinity for going to the parks and the movies and just all things Disney. Because it's it's the way she and I are fans. It's like an all or nothing kind of fandom. So we do have very in-depth and serious talks about what's going on at the parks, what kind of updates are they making. Can I say something? Now I want to say something I have been disappointed by. And we've seen this movie a couple of times, but the kids have lost interest in it. I was put off by the concept of the movie out the gate. I had zero interest in seeing the movie up until, when it was released on Disney Plus and we eventually watched it. Wish. Wish is fine. It's fine like The Rescuers is fine, or it's fine at Fox and the Hound is fine. You know what I mean? It's not a hit. It just isn't. The animation style, they did this weird mesh of the 2D vintage Disney mixed with the computer animated modern Disney animation styles, and it was it was almost, I don't know, it just felt weird. It was kind of watching a video game, but I don't know, it just aesthetically was not pleasing. But I've been able to get through aesthetically not pleasing animation styles before, i.e. the Clone Wars. So I'm not, I'm no stranger to choking down something that's hard to look at to get a good story. But this wasn't that. And the story of Wish itself wasn't what I had issue with. What I had issue with was the underlined story behind the theme of the film. So, spoiler alert, for those of you who don't know, Wish is and I could look this up because it is notated, it is this, but it's Wish is the inspiration, is supposed to be the inspiration to all the other Disney films, to where like there's a reference to like a number of other Disney films where those stories were supposedly pulled from this story. If that makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but it's what they tried to do. Like Asha, who is the main character, has 7 friends, and one of them's grumpy all the time. And that's supposed to be like the inspiration of the 7 dwarves. At one point in the film, there's a reference to one of the people's wishes is to fly, and there's someone says to them like, "Oh, have you met Peter? He's developing a flying machine." And that Peter is dressed exactly like Peter Pan. And then Asha gets gets like a magic wand, which is the magic wand from Cinderella, and she also gets a blue cloak like the fairy godmother from Cinderella has. And they even call her, "Oh, you're like a fairy godmother." And she's supposed to be the inspiration of the fairy godmother from Cinderella. And then her grandfather, his wish was to like write an iconic song, or write music for like the masses would love. And the credits scene of him is him plucking on his little mandolin or so, whatever it is. It's the melody of "When You Wish Upon a Star." So now it's like alluding to he came up with the song "When You Wish Upon a Star." And it's just like, why did you guys do that? The bad guy, the villain of the movie, gets trapped in a mirror, and it's there's like this like little Easter egg that shows that he's the guy, he's the face in the magic mirror in Snow White now. And it's just just bothered me because it was unnecessary. You could have told the exact same story without trying to lay that unnecessary and weird foundation. Like it was just annoying, honestly. Like that's all it was. So the movie itself is like low end mediocre. It's not a Moana hit. It's not even like it's a million miles away from Encanto or Frozen. It's not a hit. It's not a hit by any stretch of the imagination. It's one of those Disney films that you'll forget was a Disney film, like Brother Bear. It's in there with that. You know what I mean? Like it's Strange World. It's like kind of like that. There's a Disney movie called Strange World. It's just it's not what you could tell. You could tell it wasn't okay. It's not what you could tell. Let's see. How do I want to say this? They wanted it to be something that it's definitely not. There. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah. It's definitely, there was a mission. There was a goal. Somebody thought they were very clever, and it fell hyper short. So, I mean, go watch it if you have the hankering to, or if you want to, go watch it and see if the same things bug you that bug me, but maybe they won't bug you. Like, I don't know, man. It was just very like, no. It really felt like the movie wanted to take credit for everything that came before it. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. It's just, it was annoying. It was annoying. Um, yeah. I think it's funny that I said I wanted to talk like more MMA stuff and then spiraled into Disneyness. Speaking of Disney stuff, since we're already on that track, got a whole bunch of Disney footage from like all of our Disney trips in 2023 and 2024, honestly, because we've already been back to the parks. Lots of ride-throughs. So if you want to go and watch those, it's fun. You know, if you're a fan of the Disney parks, it's a nice little taste of the magic when you can't be there physically. And then I am going to provide the voice over for the vlogmentary, the commentary part of the vlogs coming up here next. Now that I have a whole new found freedom getting everything aligned in such a way that it makes sense and motivates me now. So that's cool. I got a bunch of cartoons lined up to do commentary for. I posted a couple new cartoon commentaries this last week. Definitely going to be doing more of this, exercising the podcast muscle. Legacy Club podcast. Okay. That's what this is called now. Learn it. So go scope out the YouTube, I guess is really what I'm saying. And so subscribe, do all that stuff. Is this like the closing plugs? I guess so. We're at an hour. I don't really necessarily want to rant, spiral into anything else. I do want to talk more MMA stuff though. So don't be surprised when I start doing that. What do we got coming up UFC wise? And is this even going to be interesting? So there's got to be, I got to start making this like crossover fandom because I love MMA and Disney. So I'm sure there are other people out there who do feel similar, who do share the same two affinities or love one and can hold a general enough curiosity about the other to where I can rant about it. But UFC 300 happened not too long ago, just a couple weeks ago, and that was super rad. One of my favorite fighters of all time, Max Bless Holloway, is now the proud owner of the BMF belt and earned that belt in a fashion that lives up to the belt's name. Now, I keep this a pretty family-friendly show, so the BMF belt stands for Baddest Mother Effer Belt. So there you have it. And he won it as any bad mother effer would. He took the belt. He was dominating the fight for all 5 rounds against an opponent who is, without question, another one of my favorite fighters, Justin Gaethje. And going into the fight, it really seemed like, because they were in 2 different weight classes. Max conventionally fights at 145 pounds featherweight, and Justin Gaethje usually fights at 155 lightweight. And when you go like, well, that's just a 10-pound difference. When you're fighting, 10 pounds can be quite the difference. And that's what they weigh in at. What they enter the octagon weighing is a far cry from what they weigh in at, which is a questionable practice, if you ask me. And it's just something that has become so commonplace that I don't know. It's not accurate. The weight classes are not accurate because somebody could weigh in at 155 pounds for a lightweight fight on Friday, but then on Saturday, they're going to weigh, like the weight 168 pounds or more, they deplete their bodies as much as they humanly can without dying to make a weight that they are barely able to make, just to regain, their normal body weight, which is far greater than, the weight limitation. You know what I mean? So when you're watching like UFC, if you're watching a lightweight fight, theoretically these guys are 155 pounds. They're not 155 pounds when you're watching them. They definitely weigh more. And even like they do the tail of the tape where they tell you the fighter's age, how tall they are, what they weigh. What they weigh is inaccurate. They're telling you what they weighed the day before or 2 days before when they're actually fighting. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. I personally think if you're going to fight at 155, you need to be somebody who walks around at 155, 160 at the most. Cut 5 pounds to make the fight. That seems reasonable. But there are these, like, the way that these fighters deplete themselves and then, like, rehydrate and gain the weight back is, like, so detrimental to their bodies and their kidneys and, like, organs. And it's wild. I don't know why it is this way. Like, it seems pretty commonplace to be like, if you naturally weigh 170 to 175 pounds, even 180 pounds, within a 10 pound gap, you know what I mean? But then, I don't know, man, it should be like, there needs to be more weight classes, I think. But that's just me. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, Max Holloway was fighting a dude in a weight class above for a belt that was kind of a novelty belt that was made by Nate Diaz. It was made by Nate Diaz when, I forgot who he fight, but he won a fight and he was doing his like post-fight interview and he said, I want to defend this belt against Jorge Masvidal. And it was like, or he said he wants to defend his win against Jorge Masvidal because Jorge Masvidal is the only other bad mother effer in the game. Well, it was like, defend what? What are you defending? So the UFC concocted a belt strictly for bad mother effers. And voila, the BMF belt was made. And the first BMF fight was, the novelty. It was between two fighters who, let's be real, it kind of felt like the belt was meant for fighters who didn't really necessarily have the option of obtaining a world title anymore. That's no longer the case now, but that's kind of how it felt when Jorge Masvidal had the belt, won it, fighting Nate Diaz. Then the belt was never defended until now, until recently. So Jorge Masvidal retired, being the BMF champion, and then, they didn't have to, but to keep the belt, that legacy belt alive, that's what it is. It's a legacy belt. Ooh, legacy. To keep that legacy belt alive, they took two dudes from the lightweight division, Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, to a couple of the most phenomenal, most toughest fighters in that ever. And they've both had runs at the champion, the world title, and both didn't quite make it. And I don't know, it was just kind of like an honorary thing. Like, these guys deserve world titles. It just so happens that they didn't win the fight to get the world title belt. So here's an opportunity for them to win a belt that's, it's an acknowledgement of their their tenacity and their fighting drive, and they're just like they're just badness. And it was cool. It was cool to see like two really deserving like legacy badasses be able to fight for a legacy belt, some bragging rights. So in that fight, Justin Gaethje beat Dustin Poirier, head kick knockout, and he became the new BMF champion. And that gave some credence to this nonsense belt, and it became like okay, now like it's at least being held by somebody who could back it up. And the first time this belt was defended was, so Justin Gaethje is the second person to ever hold the belt. He's the first person to defend the belt against Max Holloway, because prior, like, Jorge Masvidal retired as the champion, so he never defended it against anybody. So going in, even I'm a big fan of both of those fighters, and I really, really thought that Justin Gaethje, just being like the dog he is, was going to smash Max Holloway, and not smash him in like any sort of like effortless form, but I definitely thought that his power was just like a degree above Max Holloway's. That's not saying that his skill, that's not to say he was a better fighter. I just thought maybe he just had a little more power to him. And man, defying all the odds, Max Holloway went in there, and I still think Justin Gaethje may have the upper hand when it comes to just like power, just sheer power, but the fight IQ and the technicality, like the technical skills of Max Holloway, really won him that day. Like he won. I would say he won all 5 rounds, and being ahead in the fight in the 5th and final round, down to the last 10 seconds of the 5th round. In the last 10 seconds, he called Justin Gaethje to the center of the octagon and said, like, let's just throw it. Let's just dump it all out right now. And for those last 10 seconds, they both just threw everything they had, threw their fists at each other. And with 1 second left, like Max Holloway could have just danced around those last 10 seconds and won the belt by decision. But no, he rolled the dice, took the chance, and proved that he was the baddest, that night. And with 1 second left, he gave a knockout punch to Justin Gaethje and like hit him with 1 second left. The clock hit 0 as Justin Gaethje hit the mat. And it was just like it was a win in one of the most undeniable fashions I've ever seen in all my life, and really solidifies Max Holloway as one of my just like all-time favorite fighters. And it's interesting too, because he, in his weight class, he was at the top. He was always ranked number 1 or number 2. And he had held the featherweight world title before, lost it to Alexander Volkanovski, tried to get it back from Alexander Volkanovski like 2 times after losing it, and fell short in both of those fights, not being able to like retain his title, regain his title, while beating everybody else in the division behind him. So he maintained his spot just under the champion. Now there's a new champion, and he might be able to obtain that world title and hold on to his BMF belt and be like this cool world title, legacy title champion. I don't know. It's cool. Cool things happening. I don't know why I just went off on that rant specifically. I kind of want to talk a little smack about John Jones holding the heavyweight title hostage, and how he's just kind of, it's feeling like he's a little, I don't know, kind of feeling he's starting to feel like a wash to me, but maybe I'll talk about that next time. I just wanted to, I guess, geek out over the BMF belt, because the BMF belt has become my favorite belt. Like, I don't know, it's just cooler to me at this point than the world titles. But it's interesting too, because it's like, it's like Max Holloway's never going to defend the BMF belt against like a light heavyweight. You know what I mean? Somebody who fights in the 205 pound division. So it's interesting in that way that it's open to everybody, but it can only be challenged for within, I don't know, certain weight parameters. I don't know. It's interesting. It's going to be fun to see where that belt goes, but yeah, I guess I just wanted to geek out over Max Holloway for a little bit. Get my MMA fill in this episode. Yeah, I guess we could call it there. An hour 16. It's not bad. It's exercising. It's exercising this muscle. I felt it. I felt it get better, and I felt it get easier as time went on. So hopefully the next episode I'll be able to feel at the start of that episode the same way I feel at the end of this episode, and I'll be able to stream of consciousness, flow from start to finish a little bit better in that one. But yeah, here we are rolling again. Leal Legacy, Leal legacy.com. That's everywhere. That's across all your favorite social media platforms. It's all Leal Legacy. There is no more Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew has been put to rest. R.I.P. Sent to Valhalla. It is no more. It is no more. So if you were able to obtain yourself some Skeleton Crew gear, well, good for you. That'll be collector's items, I guess. But all your favorite Skeleton Crew designs are still here. They are just rebranded with the Legacy Club moniker. And yeah, leallegacy.com. You can find a link to everything. We got the commentaries up there. We got like just under 400 cartoon commentaries. Got 3 Disney movie commentaries, a bunch of other podcast episodes that are laced in there. It might take a little digging to find certain ones, but I'm going to make it a little easier to find everything. So on some of the old commentaries and some of the old podcasts and stuff, if you hear me say Skeleton Crew, just just hear it and go, oh yeah, way back when. That's not a thing anymore. It'll always be a part of the Leal Legacy. What do I want to say? Skeleton Crew will always be part of like the Leal Legacy. I don't know. Foundation? No, it's not a foundation. It's in there. It's in the mix. It's in the past. The remnants will always be there to remind us of what once was, but going forward, everything is all Legacy all the time. You can find the link from leallegacy.com to our Legacy store, which is Legacy Club Clo, CLO for clothing, Legacy Club Clothing. Check it out, scope it out, pick yourself up something nice. This is what I do, guys. This is it. And this is what I do. So, pick yourself up something nice. Support what we got going on. Check out Leal Legacy Gaming YouTube if you want to watch Baney Boy, I don't know, play Fortnite or Five Nights at Freddy's or Lego games or whatever. I don't know. He plays all the time. yeah, show him some support. He'll really love it. I think that's about it. What's coming up this week on the YouTube? Definitely some ride-throughs from probably Magic Kingdom from our trip in February. And most recently, we've put up a bunch of ride-throughs from Epcot from this same trip back in February. And then from there, I'm going to go back to past trips and start providing the voiceovers for those vlogentaries. So I don't know, just keep a lookout. Just subscribe, hit the little ding dong notification bell so you're notified every time we put up a new video. Try to put up something new daily on the YouTube. Trying to get better at doing the shorts, and the same goes for Leal Legacy on social media. Now that it's just Leal Legacy, I don't have to worry about Skeleton Crew. I'm not juggling between two different social media pages across all the platforms. Yeah, it's a one-stop shop for everything. So check it out, scope it out, provide some feedback. I want to hear from you. I will always respond to whatever feedback we receive. If you leave a comment on YouTube, I literally answer every single comment on YouTube, because I don't know. I feel like if you're taking the time to say something nice, I'm going to say something. I'm going to reply in kind, not in kind, but in kind. I'll reflect. You're approaching me. But yeah, fun stuff coming up. It's a whole new world. Get stoked. I'm stoked, and I will see you next time right here. And as always, thanks for being a friend. Telling a friend. It's the best way to show your support in a non-financial manner. Spread the word. All right, I'm out of here. Take it easy. Goodbye.